I'm curious, why are people listening to a chemistry PhD talk about AI technology? I mean, I love when people change fields because they're passionate and interested and engaged. And so I guess let's just start there.
That's a great question. And to start with, I'm very pragmatic. I've been in the education field for 20 years, mostly as a teacher, but also more recently as an administrator, also an education researcher and a creator of professional development for teachers. So I've really been deeply embedded in the practitioner space for 20 years. And I've seen a lot of innovations come and go, or supposed innovations. And we're at the forefront of a potential new technology coming into education and having an impact. And of course, I'm talking about AI. And past innovations just haven't delivered on the promise. And so, what I felt was important to do in this moment is to say, hey, I've seen a lot of things work. I've seen a lot of things not work. For folks who are looking to improve education, and certainly we need it, we need all the help we can get. Here are some things that you should know about how education works and about why innovations in the past, particularly tech innovations, haven't helped. And keep those in mind.
Okay. Maybe we start from the past and in that case, instead of going forward, what technologies came out, let's say the last 50 years, or if you want to go even further back into technology that didn't pan out the way we intended?
Right. So I'll start with a kind of my own story. This is back in the early 2000s when I was an early teacher in the classroom. I was working in the Boston public school system. Really enjoyed what I was doing, um, and I had the opportunity to work with what was new then, these clicker technologies, which were essentially like remote controls for televisions that would connect with, say, a PowerPoint presentation, allowing students to vote on multiple choice questions and displaying a graph of the answer. Now, this sounds very rudimentary today, but at the time it was very advanced, and it promised to give real time feedback on what students were learning right in the class in the moment. And it was engaging for students and it was incredibly promising. And it was something that made me feel like, hey, this is going to change the way I teach. This is going to change the way that teaching is done in the classroom. And what ended up happening is it took so long to get the clickers handed out. It was such a distraction for students. It gave me information, but it was pretty much the same information I could get just by having students raise their hand or write down an answer. And it so derailed the rest of the lesson that I ended up not using them after a few months, putting them in a cabinet, and they ended up getting thrown away 10 years later. And to say that they had a big impact on education, obviously they did not. Um, Technology like that is used in the college classroom, and for large lectures, I think it can be an effective technique. But for the most part, it really didn't permeate education. Um, so that was kind of the first thing that I saw that came and went, that not delivering on its promise. And the same thing happened to an even greater degree when the internet started being available in schools. There were even, I remember, conversations with administrators who would say, hey, we don't need to teach facts anymore because everything students need to know can be looked up online. And so we don't really need to have students memorize anything.
Wow.
Right. And I see you shaking your head. It sounds
Yeah.
common sense today that, like,
Crazy.
well, that doesn't make sense at all. But, research says reading comprehension is incredibly impacted by background knowledge, and really you need facts in order to think. Um, so, that was another example. Laptops, people assumed that once students had every student had a laptop, that schools would automatically be able to teach 21st century skills. And laptops have proven to be an incredible distraction in the classroom.
Yeah.
So much so that many schools are moving back to paper, not even using electronic technology in the classroom. So, another example is there was this feeling that we would soon be doing remote school. Well, it wasn't called remote school. We would still be doing school online, where students could sign on from the comfort of their own home and attend school with an amazing teacher in some central location, like a rock star teacher, and every student would be able to learn from the best and brightest in the field.
Right.
Well, that kind of happened during COVID, and the results were not very good. Like, there were incredible socio-emotional impacts. There's a lot of learning loss as opposed to gain. while it does
Mhm.
work better for some students, for most students, this remote school was a disaster.